Okay, so on the back of this DVD we have two quotes from two critic reviewers from two magazines. The first one comes from Richard Corliss from Time, and he says, "Thrills await you." The second quote says, "Man of Steel soars high." Peter Travers, Rolling Stone. Well, does this movie have thrills? Well, I'm going to figure that out in this review. Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be reviewing Man of Steel. Now for this episode, this is going to be a Years Later review. So yeah, this is episode 2 of the Years Later series. Because I've already seen this movie before. And I mentioned this in my last comic review, and I'll leave a link to it probably up there, so you guys check it out. If you want to, I would recommend watching that videos, not because I want your views. Believe me, I'm not trying to do that. I just want you to have some context for why I'm reviewing this movie now. It's because I got this for my birthday, so let's talk about it. So basically, Man of Steel is a retelling of Superman's origin story, except it focuses more on Superman's relationship with the humans on Earth. So how do I want to start with this review? Let's talk about some pros with this movie. Acting. As Superman, I think Henry Cavill is great. He is probably the best modern-day Superman we have right now. I like the Superman because he's more human. He has weaknesses and struggles, and therefore the audience can side with him, can relate to him in a way. I'm going to admit, he's not the best Superman. Let me just get that out of the way. I know Superman always started out as this beacon of hope who provides people with hope for the future, protection from crime and such. He's always this hopeful figure. But I see Superman in this movie as more of a realistic kind of Superman. In fact, this entire movie feels like a realistic take on Superman, because nobody in their right mind would probably accept a guy who has all these superpowers, and he came from literally outer space, and he just jumps on Earth for some random reason. I mean, who would accept him as a hero right off the bat? And the human characters in this movie are that kind of skeptical kind of person. They don't necessarily accept Superman at first as this beacon of hope. He kind of has to prove himself. He basically, Superman goes through character trials, and one of those trials being his relationship with the humans. Even though he rescues other people, most of the world's leaders don't necessarily trust him, and that plot point is explored in this movie. I like Lois Lane in this movie. Amy Adams, I think, does a good job playing this no-nonsense kind of reporter who's just looking to do her job and doesn't want to screw around. The last character I want to talk about is General Zod, played by Michael Shannon. In my opinion, he's good as General Zod, but sometimes he can be very over the top. There's one scene on the top of my mind. I don't know if I should really spoil it for you. General Zod is basically just screaming, probably at the top of his voice, and it felt really exaggerated, like he didn't have to yell that loud in the scene I am referencing. Another positive I want to talk about, let's go into the story for a moment. Another positive I found is that Krypton is explored more. You get an idea of what the planet is like. Even though it's brief, and we don't have a lot of scenes on Krypton, it's just in the very beginning, it's very focused into that beginning portion of the movie. We get to see Krypton. We get to see what it's like. We get to see what's actually happening at the time that this movie occurs. We encounter all of Krypton in the form of a flashback that occurs well before this movie takes place. I cannot continue without talking about the awesome action scenes that occur in this movie. Sure, they kind of can get messy, they can be out of control, but they are awesome to look at. I mean, the explosions, the intensity is all there. The character of Superman, I mean, his arc might be a little cliche, but I think he's developed enough that people can care for him. And that's what makes the action scenes so great. They are jaw-dropping. They are absolutely fantastic. And these action scenes are thrilling in this movie. I also like the special effects. I like how they were trying to do some kind of special effects that no movie studio has done before at the time that this movie was made, which is 2013. And these new kind of special effects make the movie feel more original. These new special effects make the movie feel a lot more fun to watch. Now, in spite of the fact that the action scenes are awesome to look at, this movie is not perfect. Those action scenes, while they can be intense and thrilling, the cinematography can sometimes be very shaky. The screen sometimes shakes a little bit during like the most intense part of the action scenes. Things can feel like nothing is stable, and so it can kind of feel like the camera's jittery and like all over the place. The story also can have some problems. At first, when I first watched this movie, I thought that the flashbacks presented at the beginning of this movie weren't exactly good. I didn't really like those flashbacks. I thought they jumbled the plot line a little bit because they just felt out of place. But watching it again, I realized that transitions to those flashbacks make the flashbacks feel more like they belong in the movie, like they provide context to Superman's character and what he's going through. After watching this movie again, I noticed that there was a giant exposition dump just before like the big final battle that occurs. Before I talk about this scene, I want to talk about Lois Lane for a minute. She's a much stronger character in this movie. She has a much stronger role. She's not necessarily a damsel in distress, and she does have a role to play in this movie. However, there's a scene where she finds out this piece of information that basically goes like, hey, I figured out how to stop the bad guys. Here's what you got to do. And it feels just like a whole exposition scene that forces this movie to just stop from whatever it's doing in the first place and just be like, okay, here's how the bad guys are going to be defeated, but we're being told this. And the question is, how did Lois Lane figure out this piece of information? I can't really say what she's mentioned because it would be a spoiler. It's really confusing. How did she figure out whatever she needs to tell these military people so that they can stop the bad guy? It's never explained. And we never actually figure out how she got the information that she says she has. There's another scene with Superman as a boy with his dad. And although the scene is touching to watch, it's a kind of a conversation between father and son. There's one line given by Jonathan Kent, played by Kevin Costner, that felt like it should have been erased from the movie. Like, if that line had not been there, I think the scene would have been more powerful. It would have been more invigorating, more investing. The last problem I want to talk about is this movie's ending. It feels like it's trying to wrap up everything that the movie presented to you at first in the first and second acts, but the ending feels like it's just trying to end it and it doesn't know how. And so, therefore, it can kind of feel like the writers didn't know, like, where do we end this movie? Let's end it like this, and he'll do this, and it'll stop right there. The ending should have been more well-crafted and should have summarized the movie as a whole. Despite these issues, however, I think Man of Steel is an enjoyable movie. If you have not seen it, I would recommend giving it a watch, especially if you're a Superman fan. I know that this has very, very mixed reviews and very divided reception, but me personally, I like this kind of Superman. We're in desperate need of some form of another Superman movie, with Henry Cavill, mind you, if you're watching Warner Brothers. On a scale of 1 to 10, I am going to give this movie a 7. So that was my review for Man of Steel. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know by leaving a like, by hitting that thumbs up button. If you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is hit the subscribe button. And I will see you in my next review. Thank you for watching.